get a good look. Good look, good look, good look, good look, good look, good look. ISO zones, breaking bones. Put your hands up when you getting sent home off a good look. Good look, good look, good look, good look, good look, good look. It's the Good Look Podcast. It's the Good Look Podcast. It's the Good Look Podcast.
Yes, sir, and welcome to episode 49 of the Good Look Podcast. I'm your host, Leonard Pinckney, aka Agent P, aka L Pinckney, here to give you guys another episode, one away from episode 50, y'all. That is incredible. Appreciate you all of you out there for the support. Make sure if you're on YouTube right now, like, comment, subscribe to the pod. Really appreciate it. And if you're on the DSPs, appreciate you listening. That's how we originally started. That's how we're going to continue to rock. So thank you for being around to support, guys. I really appreciate it. So that's how we're going to move forward on and go into this second half of the season. We about to be underway. So I'm going to go ahead and go into some of the news of the week like I usually do. And then we'll go ahead and move forward. So first off, Cavs, they signed Quinn Cook to a 10-day. Quinn Cook originally on the Lakers. Now he's going to sign a 10-day with Cleveland. I mean, not really that big of a deal. Quinn Cook is a good shooter, but he doesn't really do much else. More of a 12th, 13th guy. Maybe he gets in the lineup with Cleveland, but they want to develop Garland and Sexton. So maybe he's just there to see what's up. I don't know what they're going to really do there, so I don't expect much from that signing. The earned jerseys. So the earned jerseys came out this week. What the earned jerseys are the 16 teams that make the playoffs the previous season. Nike goes ahead and makes them a specific color scheme or new color scheme, new jersey for making the playoffs, calls it their earned edition. They're okay. The biggest deviations, Miami, they go with a full yellow taxi scheme. I'm not really feeling it. I like the Nuggets. It's simple. It's red, white, and blue with the pickaxe logo in the front. I like that. I like Milwaukee's. If you look on the side of the jerseys, the trim is just antlers. I think that's super dope. So those are a couple that I like. Nothing is too crazy, so I'm not mad at it other than Miami's going crazy. But it's the Nike model. Ever since Nike came out, they've come out with 4 specific jerseys every year. The home, the away, they hit you with the alternate, and then they go ahead and hit you with the city. And then most recently, so I just said 4, but now most recently, they go ahead and add the earned edition just so you can get these merch sales up. That's pretty much all it is. So you know what the vibes are. LaMarcus Aldridge and the Spurs have mutually agreed to part ways. You're hearing this a lot more with it used to be something that just dealt with coaching and front office people, but now it's kind of moving towards a more of a player thing because there's special circumstances where players feel like they're not in the best position to succeed and they want to have a better opportunity somewhere else. And the team actually agrees. And they feel like if they could sit the player so he doesn't get hurt, stays in shape, and then goes ahead and gets traded to another team, that's the best route to take for both parties. So that's what San Antonio is saying. Pop put out a statement. He said the same thing. He's been a great teammate. They just both agree that they need to move in a separate direction. And it's true. Aldridge is 36 now. He's way past his prime. He's averaging 13 and 5 now. He's an okay big at this point, can still hit a mid-range shot, can still make a couple of post-ups, but his game's kind of in a rear view. He could still contribute somewhere. Like I have a couple of spots, like Charlotte could probably make sense. Anything in Charlotte's front court could make sense because other than PJ, they don't really have a lot of consistency there. You're relying on Bismack Biyombo and Cody Zeller. That's not really something you want to rely on. And then you got, besides Charlotte, I'd probably say maybe Chicago. When he first became a free agent, Chicago was one of those teams that actually popped up for him. Chicago they're dealing with a lot of injuries and inconsistency from that spot. Markkanen is always hurt. Wendell Carter Jr. is either hurt or playing inconsistently. It's funny, the most consistent player in their front court has been Thad Young, and he's been a revelation for them. So You get a guy like Aldridge who can give you 20, 25 minutes a night, space out the floor for you. Is just smart and heady, knows what he's doing on the court. That wouldn't be a bad signing or trade for Chicago as well. So I could see maybe those couple of places. Other than that, he's an okay contributor. He's a little bit better than Blake just because he's more healthy, but high end he's not as high as Blake, and that's why. Or that's a nice little transition into Blake Griffin. So last week he got bought out by Detroit. They also mutually agreed to part ways. His situation is a little different though, and we talked about it on my pod, the 1 year episode we had Manny and Ralph and Jarwin. Shout out to my dudes. He had $75 million left on a 2-year contract, and they found a way to buy that thing out. I have no idea how they did that. But Detroit bought it out, and Blake now has to give back $13.3 million of that contract, and then he went to the Brooklyn Nets and signed for the minimum. So Detroit, for this year and next year, is going to be paying Blake Griffin $62 million to not play basketball for them, which is absolutely incredible. It just shows you how incompetent their franchise has been the past couple of seasons. Trade Andre Drummond for a second-round pick. Trade Blake Griffin buy Blake Griffin now so you don't get any value. Trade Reggie Jackson for peanuts. Like they keep letting go of guys and not getting any kind of value back. It's understandable if you're in a situation where you know you're not really going to attract free agents, or it's hard for you to sign, or you're most likely going to have to get good players by drafting high. But at least when you have a couple that hit, you want to get some value for them, and they've struck out pretty badly the last couple of seasons. So it doesn't really look good for Detroit. They have a couple of nice pieces, but it's going to be a while before Detroit's competitive again. In terms of Blake's role in Brooklyn, I don't see it being any more than a bench guy who can give you at most 20 minutes a night. His body's just betrayed him, and it's unfortunate because Blake was one of the most exciting basketball players of the 2010s. He was definitely a top 5 guy for a couple of stretches during those years. He played with reckless abandon. I remember watching his first regular season game after he sat out his whole first year, and he played against Portland. And I think his first bucket was like an alley-oop with his left hand, and it was incredible to see a guy with that kind of athleticism. And when you notice it, when you see that type of stuff, you notice it right away. And Blake had that. So I'm sad to see that his career has kind of taken this turn. But now he gets a chance to hopefully win a championship, and he's going to be in Brooklyn with 3 of the best offensive players in the game, and he's not going to be relied upon to do a lot. So if this was 3 years ago when Blake was still an all-league defender, if people don't remember, 3 years ago he made third-team All-NBA. He was still a really good player, averaged 24, 7, and 5. He was still really good, but he's far removed from that. He's a couple more surgeries removed from that. He'll be a guy who can be a hub, probably for the second unit of that team. But it's funny because he'll always be playing with either Kyrie, Durant, or Harden. So now you'll have that combination to work with. He gets to play with DeAndre Jordan again. It's a cool little situation for him. And I hope Blake can stay healthy. I hope he can injury manage himself all the way through to the end. Because he's been a good player, man. And when guys lose their value and their style of play because of injury, it's one of the worst things to watch over time. So I'm rooting for him. I already picked Brooklyn. Y'all know I picked Brooklyn to win the title before the year started. So I am looking forward to seeing how he fits and just seeing him healthy. That's the biggest part. We just want to see him healthy. I don't really care what kind of stats he puts up. Just want to see Blake healthy, man. Those are the moves that are we have Aldridge, who's going to get moved eventually. Blake Griffin has moved. Now we got a couple more rumors. Victor Oladipo has been rumored or the Warriors have shown interest. I get it. I posed this to my friend Jarwin about the Warriors going for Bradley Beal, and he said he didn't want to do it. Marcus Smart sounded like a good idea as well. Victor Oladipo is kind of in the middle of those guys when he's healthy. He's not as good of a scorer as as Bradley Beal, and he's not as good of a defender as Marcus Smart. But when he's healthy, he can be a good combination of both. Versatile two guard who can get his own shot, shoot the three, and defend. And Warriors could definitely use that kind of player. They've gotten surprisingly great production out of Andrew Wiggins. Kelly Oubre's been on and off. Draymond Green, when he's on, has been playing really well. The Warriors kind of just need more consistent bodies on the court. They don't really have too many good NBA players. They rely on some middling guys to play bigger roles than they should be playing. So Victor Oladipo there could be nice. They couldn't. I don't know if they could get him without giving up another at least decent rotation piece on their team. So I don't know if it's the best move for him. Oladipo's been long rumored to go to Miami. It sounds like he really wants to go there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Vic just holds out and runs his time through Houston and then just runs it into free agency and see what happens. The next guy up for trade rumors is Kyle Lowry. Now, this Kyle Lowry is funny because right away, once the rumors came out, he went on. I think on the next day he went on his IG and was like, "Y'all be believing anything from the media. Don't believe it unless it comes from me. I ain't getting traded nowhere." And then there's a report that's coming out that Toronto doesn't want to move him. So I get it. Kyle Lowry's been a staple for Toronto basketball for the past decade almost. And I don't expect them to move him either, especially because they're now playing well and they're moving into the postseason. They want to keep him. They want to start winning. So, but if he did end up getting moved, a couple of places, probably two places make the most sense to me. It'd be Denver and Philly. Denver makes sense because you could move Jamal Murray off the ball, and Jamal Murray is a lot better when he's just given the task of having to be a scorer and not just make all the decisions in the pick and roll. You've seen over the last 10, he's averaging close to 30. So I'd like to see him in that role. If you watch the Nuggets, he plays a lot with Monte Morris and Facu Campazzo. They don't want Jamal to make all the decisions. Instead, they want him to have tunnel vision and try to score and get buckets. So I would love to see Kyle Lowry in Denver because he'd be great defensively. He'd be a great leader. He'd keep us in our spots. It'd be Chauncey Billups, honestly. And Chauncey Billups was a guy who got Denver to the Western Conference Finals in 2009. He's just he was an incredibly savvy player, knew when to take the shots at the right times, knew when to get other guys involved. So I like Kyle Lowry going to Denver or Philadelphia. He's from Philly. And Philly with Kyle Lowry, I think they could challenge Brooklyn for sure and Los Angeles. Right now, I think there's still a couple pieces away, but Kyle Lowry is that kind of point guard that could put them in position to win a title. Having him run their offense and providing outside shooting and stability, having him and Ben Simmons as perimeter defenders for your team, I love that. He would be able to get Embiid the ball in all the right spots, and he's already playing well. So Kyle Lowry to Philadelphia would be an incredible move as well. So two of those spaces look like the best spots for him. It's not going to happen, but if it did, we'll see what. Yeah, you never know, man. A bit of annoying and terrible news. Myers Leonard got caught on a Twitch stream saying anti-Semitic slur. Obviously not going to say the word, but and then he came out with a bogus apology saying he didn't know what the word meant and all this other stuff, whatever. Whatever, man. I'm not going to go into his apology too much, but the Heat are going to sit him down now. He's not going to be playing for a minute. He's sitting indefinitely, and the NBA is doing their investigation on it. Not going to talk about it too much, but I mean, you're a professional basketball player. You're in the limelight, and all of your moves are going to be scrutinized, and you just have to be careful. And it's not even about just being careful. It's just knowing that, hey, man, just don't say dumb stuff like that. And to try to cop it out, and you're an adult saying you don't know what that word means, it's just bold-faced lying. So own up to it and just move forward. And even Julian Edelman from the Patriots said he was going to reach out to him and try to talk to him with the history of it and go from there. So I'm good on Julian. Hopefully Myers just learns from this. He's definitely going to learn from it, and we'll see how he goes moving forward, man. All right, so a little all-star recap. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were supposed to play, didn't end up playing. They got in contact with their barber who had a possible inconclusive COVID test, so they ended up sitting the game. Devin Booker was supposed to play. He ended up sitting the game after everyone was mad that he wasn't in it originally. And then they added Mike Conley to the game. So Utah ended up getting 3 All-Stars. And Mike Conley made things interesting in the three-point contest. I'll talk about that first. The three-point contest was the best skills competition of the weekend, and it normally is now because you just get to see – because the game has just expanded so much. I love seeing these guys get out there and shoot, and it was an incredible thing to watch. Zach LaVine, Mike Conley, talked about him before, but it was really about Steph. Everyone wanted to see Steph. Steph dropped 31 points in that first round, man. 31 points in the first round, and he made it look easy. And it's so fun to watch Steph Curry shoot a basketball because he makes it look so easy. But in the final round, when Mike Conley got there with Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley put up a really nice score. I think he put up 27 points, and it was like, okay, now Steph's got a little bit of pressure on him. And Steph didn't start out so hot, but he hit it 2. What they do now is they put 2 longer shots. They're putting them at 29 feet. They count for 3 points, so they put those in the competition. Steph hit both of those shots, and he got hot towards the end of the round, but he still needed every single point in order to overcome Mike Conley. He ended up scoring 28, hitting the last shot at the buzzer. So it was incredible, exciting all the way down the stretch. The three-point contest usually doesn't disappoint, and Steph made it a note to, thank Klay, or dedicated to Klay Thompson, who's a staple in that competition as well. So hopefully we get to see both of them back in the next year. Wishing you well, Klay. Please get back healthy. We want to see you play basketball, man. So shout out to him. Shout out to Steph for taking the crown. Skills competition, big men dominated once again. The final round was Nikola Vucevic versus Domantas Sabonis. Sabonis ended up taking the crown. And then the dunk contest. The dunk contest was a little tough this year. They were going to cram it because it was going to go at halftime. And it ended up being Cassius Stanley, Anthony Simons, and Obi Toppin. And it was a lot of just meh. Like, I think Kenny Smith went a little wild talking about Cassius got robbed on the first dunk. So the first dunk, nice dunk. I don't think it was a 50. It was cool. But I don't think it was what they rated it as well. It was a little bit too low for me. 44 is a little crazy. This should have been what Simon's dunk was, 46, 47. But we talked about it in the past. Just give these guys halves, man. Let them do 7.5, 8.5, a little bit variance in the scores. That'll help these guys in terms of only having solid numbers. So, and then Obi, I liked his first dunk, the bounce between the legs and the catch. They were trying to say that he saw Zach LaVine online, and that's the reason why he does it. Man, every professional dunker does that now. So I don't chalk it up to that bull. These guys just aren't paying attention. And then the last dunks were cool. Anthony Simons ended up winning because he had the fake kiss the rim, but honestly, he's probably as close to the rim as you could get without like having the ball maybe ricochet off your face. So good for him. He showed off his bounce, but his dunks really weren't that creative. He got it from 12 feet. We've seen that before. Show that he can jump high. It was cool, but don't need to really talk about the dunk contest too much. It was all right. The actual game. It's kind of what you expected. It 2,500 fans there. Guys are already showing that they didn't really want to be there that much. There wasn't much competition in this one. It wasn't like last year, because last year had the juice. It was the first year with the Elam ending and going with the 24 points and winning every quarter and all that stuff. This year was more like, guys, we're here. We'll run up and down. Don't want to get hurt. Don't want anybody to get sick. Let's just get through it. That's pretty much what the theme was. Let's just get through it. There are a couple of moments of competition because it's the NBA, and these guys are competitive for the most part. Lobs, jogging up and down, pulling lots of threes, dunks. That's all it really was. Giannis ended up being the All-Star Game MVP. He was perfect from the field, 16 for 16, had 35 points. Steph put on a show, was hitting threes from everywhere. Dame put on a show, hitting threes from everywhere. On the end of the second quarter, they had a sequence where Chris Paul caught a lob, Steph caught a lob, and Dame caught a lob, and then Dame hit a shot from half court, and Steph hit a shot from half court. That was probably the most fun sequence of the game. Other than that, Kyrie, I think, was the one who was actually trying the hardest on the East team. He kind of took it upon himself because they didn't have Durant, they didn't have Embiid, and they were looking for guys to keep it close. And they kept it kind of close for one quarter, but Team LeBron went up 20 points into the fourth, and it wasn't going to be competitive in the fourth quarter when one team has to score like 45 and the only other one only needs 24. So that's where the Elam ending can be shaky, but it was a game that really just wasn't that interesting. Couple of fun moments, but other than that, it is what it is. Next year is going to be better, I believe. You could tell like LeBron was like bumming. He was smoking a bunch of layups and only played less than 20 minutes. Guys were really out there putting in their all. So I think next year, when things are back to normal, hopefully, let's knock on that wood, y'all. Guys are going to be more competitive. They'll understand the game better. Everyone knew we just had to do this for money, pretty much. So that's what we're pretty much looking at in that regard. Okay, y'all. So second half preview. We are in the second half of the NBA season. Currently, Philly's number one in the East, but only by half a game over Brooklyn. And right now, the Utah Jazz at 27-9 sit on top of the West and have the best overall record in the NBA. So there's a couple of things that I'm looking to in terms of what I'm projecting and looking forward to for the second half of the year. So I'll go ahead and give you all a couple of my thoughts on that. But the first thing I kind of want to talk about before I get into the second half preview is something that I've noticed and I think is going to be a trend moving forward. I've complained about this a little bit already, and if you listen to my pod, you know I complained about the numbers in the NBA right now being inflated, pace of play being way up, possessions per 100, possessions per game being way over 100, giving guys more opportunities to score, rebound, assist, and pass, all those things. And guys not really being allowed to play defense anymore. Those are things I really don't like about the NBA right now. But if there's one thing that we can benefit from with all those things kind of melding together and putting out this one thing, I'm not too mad at it. And that one thing is allowing the primes of some of our best players to be extended. So you look at a guy like LeBron. LeBron's a physical freak. He doesn't make sense, but he's 36. And even though he's showing some of his age, he's still clearly the best player in basketball. Steph Curry is going to be 33 in about a week. And he still looks like he's probably got 3 dominant Steph years in him, type where he could get you to a finals. Dame just turned 30, and if you watch the All-Star game and if you watched him all year, he's been a dark horse MVP candidate, and he's gotten Portland to a position where you wouldn't really think they would be, considering all the injuries they continue to have to deal with since he's been there. Kyle Lowry's still been effective at going into his age 35 season. Chris Paul is 36 and has been the most important player in Phoenix so far. Mike Conley's had a resurgence at age 33. Kevin Durant's 32. James Harden's 31. And we don't really even think about those guys as primes ending anytime soon. So I think that the level of physicality being less than it normally has been has allowed these guys to just last longer and have their primes last longer in the league. Like, we don't have to deal with the wear and tear. Guys hacking you. Offensive players are just totally protected now. So taking a bump, it's a foul. You land in their landing space on a jump shot, it's a foul. You can't really touch them, so guys get to the basket free and easy most of the time. Everything's spread pick and roll, so most guys are either catching and shooting or getting to the basket. There's only 1 or 2 guys who are the primary playmakers on teams, so it's a little bit annoying in that regard, and I've talked about it on multiple occasions, but I think it's something that's going to be nice in this respect, that we'll be able to see some of our best players, the guys we really enjoyed over the last couple of years, play into their primes a little bit longer than we'd expect. most of these guys, once they're 36, that's kind of what the cutoff is. But we've got a lot of great players, and these guys are going to be playing well into their mid to late 30s. Like, you imagine Kevin Durant around 36, 37, he's still going to be a dominant scorer, a great shooter, that kind of player. You imagine guys like Steph, he's always going to have that jump shot, so he's always going to be an effective player in that regard. So they're not going to be here forever. So I like saying it a lot. You enjoy these guys while you can, because these players are not going to be here forever. But I think their primes are going to last longer than we would normally expect players to last. So that's one nice thing to think about, you know? All right, done with the mushy stuff. Let's go ahead and get into the second half of the season, y'all. The teams that have the easiest schedule for the second half of the year are as follows, and this is by winning percentage: Utah, Dallas, Brooklyn, Miami, Denver, and Philly. So what is this going to tell us? First off, with Utah, it tells us Utah is going to get the number 1 seed in the West. They are built for the regular season, and I don't really believe in them in the postseason still. But on a night-to-night basis, when you're talking about a regular season grind, and especially in a season like this, with the way that they shoot the ball, the way that they defend the rock, they're setting themselves up to rack up a bunch of wins in the second half of the season. So I expect Utah to continue to play consistent, smart basketball. Donovan Mitchell's going to continue to play well. And I like their chances of staying at the 1 seed, because the Lakers are still going to continue to have to mend and wait for Anthony Davis to get healthy. I don't know if the Clippers are going to ramp it up enough to overtake Utah, and all the other teams in the West are going to be beating up on each other. So Utah, congrats to y'all. I think you're still going to be the number 1 seed in the West. Dallas is next, but their roster has been shown to have flaws this year. I think everyone knows that the Seth Curry trade was a mistake. And even though Luka's continuing to ball and he's continuing to play well, they still have a ways to go. I think they're going to be okay. I think they're still going to fight, because Porzingis, and some people are down on him, he's going to get his rhythm back. He's going to play better as the second half of the season rolls along. But unless they make some kind of trade that gets Luka some more outside shooting, they're going to be struggling with guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Josh Richardson being the ones that you have to rely on to hit outside shots. So I still think Dallas will be fine. I still think they're going to be in a play-in spot. But I think a lot of people expected more out of them this year. I don't know why. Everyone wanted to make Luka the all-out, like by and large, the favorite for the MVP this year, and that didn't make sense to me, because I didn't think Dallas was, as a team, going to be that good. Luka was going to be great. His numbers are going to be great, but that team overall just it wasn't going to be as good. So I didn't understand that, but he's still awesome. And if you give them maybe a couple of shooters here or there, then they might make a run, but I don't see it happen. I think they're going to go ahead and be in a play-in spot. Brooklyn was cruising without Kevin Durant. And now he's going to eventually come back. He's still dealing with the hamstring thing. They're going to have it re-examined in about a week. So he can take his time, though. They're not really hurting for him too much. James Harden and Kyrie have been hooping. And their team is definitely starting to gain some continuity. They got incredible role players like Bruce Brown and Joe Harris. They've been playing well. So I see them reeling off some more wins. They're going to be near the top of the Eastern Conference. I think they're going to overtake Philly, and they're going to ended up being that number 1 seed in the East. I already told y'all they're my championship pick. I still feel really confident in it. I ain't gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous when the trade happened, just because I liked that Brooklyn had all that talent. I thought they were super deep, and Kevin Durant and Kyrie was enough. I thought they'd consolidate their talent and make a trade that just kind of leaned out the depth and not so much as just put everything into James Harden. But they decided that was enough. And then, I mean, the way things look now, you can't really blame them, right? So I still believe that my pick is right. And Brooklyn, here we come. Miami. So the Miami Heat's favorable schedule will coincide with Jimmy Butler coming back and finally getting healthy and getting in his rhythm. This team's going to keep fighting. They always fight. Eric Spoelstra is a great coach. They're going to get some more continuity again. I see them getting off some wins. I see them going on a run. They're going to finish top 5 in the East, I believe, just based on all the factors coming in together. So that's what I think is going to go on for them. My favorite team, the Nuggets, they have the next easiest schedule. And I was telling y'all, man, on the last pod, I foresee a run with this squad. Like they've already won 4 straight coming into the break. They're feeling good. Michael Porter Jr. is playing the 4 now. He's starting to understand his role a little bit better. Jamal Murray averaging close to 30 of the last 10 games, and Nikola Jokic is still maintaining that MVP buzz. And I could see them reeling off 8 of their next 10, moving into top 3 contention in the West. I believe in this team, and not just because they're my favorite team, but I see the signs with this squad. And the numbers are starting to suggest that 21-15 right now. Don't be surprised if they're 30-17 and starting to knock on the door for Western Conference top 3 seats for sure. And then you have the Lakers. On the flip side, we're talking about the hardest schedules. The Knicks have the 5th hardest schedule in the league, so that means that 4th seed is not going to probably be lasting too long. They've been an awesome story, man. Tibbs has gotten a lot out of these guys. They play hard. They play tough. They play smart. Julius Randle being an all-star was well-deserved. But I don't think that'll be enough to keep them in the 4th seed. Having to play a tougher schedule, teams are going to be able to they won't be able to take advantage of playing softer opponents anymore. I still see the Knicks making the postseason, but more as a play-in team as opposed to being solidified in the top 6. So I still like you, New York, but I don't think you're going to be able to hold that 4th seed considering what your schedule is looking like going forward. Lakers come in with the 7th hardest schedule. I think they're in a tough spot, considering right now that AD is still hurt. They need time for him to get back and healthy, and that's all they honestly really care about. They don't care about this regular season. LeBron will keep you around the top 4 by himself, but they're going to struggle against some of the better teams in the league. When they played Brooklyn without him, they lost by double digits. You see them struggling with teams. They lost to the Wizards. So, but none of that matters. The Lakers are the team that deserve the biggest benefit of the doubt of all the teams in the league right now. They are going to be fine as long as Anthony Davis is fine. If he's not, then you might as well hand the title over to Brooklyn right now, because that is who's going to end up winning the title. I already picked him anyway. But if AD ain't healthy, then it's really Brooklyn, and that's pretty much it. So I hope AD gets healthy. They got a couple of guys that should be able to help them stem the tide. Watch out for THT, all you Laker fans. I know that you guys really like him, but he will become an unrestricted free agent this year. If they could find some way to move him for some longer-term piece, then I think that'd be a smart move for the Lakers to do. Other things to pay attention to. This is going to be fun. So this is going to turn into a 2-man race for the MVP, and it's going to be Joel Embiid, who's in the lead right now, and my guy Nikola Jokic. So right now, Jokic is at 27, 11, and 8, shooting 57 from the field, 88 from the line, and 41% from 3. I'm tying that also to Denver's schedule being easier. So once they start reeling off these wins, that's the only thing that doesn't have Jokic in the lead right now, is because of the record. If he did have it, then no question he'd be in the lead for MVP right now. Joel Embiid has the record, and he's also averaging 30 while grabbing 11 boards and getting you 3 assists, 52% from the field, 85 from the line, and 41 from 3 as well. They're going to be fighting with Brooklyn for the top seed. But Embiid's name is fully entrenched at the top spot of the MVP discussion right now, and especially with that game against Utah, he was spectacular, dropping that 40-point barrage on Utah. That's what it's funny with Utah, right? And especially I'm directing this comments to Rudy Gobert. Gobert is a great defender. Don't get me wrong. But when he plays the best or offensive centers in the league, he gets cooked. My guy Jokic gave him a 47 piece and B gave him 40. And I know offensive players are great and they're going to play well. But damn, if you're the defensive player of the year, you shouldn't be getting lit up by the best guys. You should be making it a little bit harder on them. So that's why side note, I think Ben Simmons is the defensive player of the year. If you watch Philly play, you watch that man play defense. I don't think anyone wants to try to play against him. He is such a versatile defender. So that's where I would go. But hey, some people still like picking Gobert, and I think that's a tired thing to do, to always just pick the center who's a good rim protector and good at shot blocking or whatever. It's what we default to a lot in the NBA. I think we should be more nuanced with how we look at defenders, and Ben Simmons has been an excellent example of that. And I think if he continues to play that way, we should reward him for it. And getting back to the MVP discussion, I think the side note in all of this that's going to end up being pretty cool is that the media is going to really feed into this narrative. They're really going to feed into the narrative that, hey, we're in a new NBA now where everyone's shooting threes, where everyone's spreading the court, everyone's running pick and roll. It's all about the guards. It's all about the wings. But guess what? You know who the two leading MVP candidates are? Two centers. So I think the media is really going to love that throwback. And as annoying as it is, narratives are part of this MVP game, and they shouldn't be. They should be a really small part. But I think this is going to play a big factor, and having Jokic versus Embiid be on the marquee is going to be awesome. And I think the media is really going to cling on to that. The other two subplots with that are, what's LeBron going to do? Because LeBron's always in the conversation. And with AD out, is that going to hurt him? Is that going to help him? Right now, it really hasn't done too much for him. It's kept him in the top 3-4 of the conversation, but I think it's going to do more harm than help, because LeBron by himself with his team, he'll be fine, but I don't think his numbers will be up there enough to show that he'll still be in MVP contention with the other two guys. And the other one is Giannis. And it's starting to turn into the thing I talked about earlier in the season, which I'm really happy is happening, and I hope it continues to happen. I hope Giannis continues to shit on all of y'all and continue to average 29-11 or 29-12 and 7, whatever he's averaging, and Milwaukee reels this off. Because I want voters to have their feet held to the fire and take the award seriously and really say this is the award. It's a regular season award. No one really wants to watch Milwaukee right now because they want to see what they do in the postseason. But if Giannis continues to play well and if Milwaukee hovers around the 1 seed, you still have to consider him for the MVP discussion. I don't care that he's won back-to-back, and I don't care that he's come up short in 2 straight NBA finals. If you let those, or not NBA finals, postseasons, if you let those past results dictate how you vote for this season, you should have your vote taken away, because it's a regular season award. It's not the best player. It's never just the best player. And it needs to be explained all the time that it's not always the best player. LeBron James hasn't been the MVP the last 10 years. And before that, it wasn't Shaq and Kobe and Tim Duncan every year. And before that, Michael Jordan didn't win every single one. It's about who's playing mostly the best basketball for the best team that season. So I hope Giannis continues to play well and Milwaukee gets in this discussion and has a really good record, because I would love to see what the voters would have to do in that situation. But voters, lucky for you in this situation, I just have Embiid and Jokic being the top 2 guys in this conversation, so you don't got to worry about that. Let's go ahead and buckle up, y'all. It's going to be fun. And the last topic for you guys, There's been a lot of trade talk in the NBA world, speculation this week. The trade deadline is going to be coming up soon. So I'm going to go ahead and give a couple of trade ideas out there, some big, some little, some that I thought would be a little bit more realistic. So I'm going to go ahead and run those through really quick. I like Naz Reid going to Brooklyn. Now, you see Naz Reid. Who the hell is that? That's not really a big move. Naz Reid is a 6'9", 250-pound center who's been playing in the doldrums of Minnesota. He's actually got some pretty decent time because Karl-Anthony Towns has missed a lot of games. But Naz Reid's been averaging 12 and 5. He's a big body. He's getting you about a block per every 20 minutes. And he shoots 34% from three. So he can step out and hit a three every once in a while. So I like his versatility. And I think he's an easier get for Brooklyn as opposed to trying to get an Andre Drummond or somebody like that. And he would still be as effective coming off your bench, being a guy who could protect the rim a little bit, give you some versatility offensively, fill in that backup center spot. I'd like for him to be there because DeAndre Jordan isn't going to be one that's going to be playing a lot of minutes there, or shouldn't be. I'd like Naz Reid there, and if he went there, I'd like that move more than what they did with Blake Griffin, honestly. I really do like Naz Reid's game. Marvin Bagley going to San Antonio for Corey Joseph. So Bagley and Corey Joseph to the Spurs for Aldridge in the first round pick. So Sacramento is saying, we'll take Aldridge and his expiring for a first round pick. Give us that. And you can have Marvin Bagley pretty much. Corey Joseph's just in there to make the money match. But essentially Marvin Bagley, I think he needs a new start, man. And the biggest thing he hasn't had his career is structure. And San Antonio is literally just structure. So if he could get over there with Pop and have that environment and that tutelage growing into that role with that team, they already have so many great young players who just play hard and know what they're doing. DeJounte, Lonnie Walker, Keldon Johnson. I've talked about the Spurs before. I really like their young unit. If he gets to be in that situation, he gets to start over, get coached by a real coach for real. And I think that'd be a really nice place for him to revamp himself. So I like it. And then I like it for Sacramento just because they're going to get a first round pick out of it. And they just don't really. The stuff with Bagley was a little bit annoying in the beginning of the year. And I just don't think they know how to use him. And they don't really know how to get the much value out of him. They could probably sneak a second round pick in there too, just to get a little more value out of him. But I think that's the best they're going to be able to do. Plus, they don't have to deal with the idea of if we're going to extend this guy because his contract is eventually going to re-up. And he's going to get that extent. He's going to be up past his rookie extension. So I think eventually they're going to have to move off him because they don't want to pay him. I think they're just going to try to move forward with De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton. So that's another move that I'm thinking about. Another one is Terrence Ross going to Dallas for Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson still has a player option left, so he has $10 and $11 million left on his contract. Terrence Ross is signed for the next 3 years. I like Terrence Ross in Dallas because it gives Luka what he needs, a versatile shooter and scorer who doesn't need the ball in his hands necessarily and who can space the floor out for him. And he's an athletic body. He can play a little bit of defense, but not really. He's kind of just there. But I like that. I like his offensive versatility, and I think he'd be a great fit next to Luka. Josh Richardson, in theory, was what you wanted him to be, wanted that player to be, but he's just not a good enough shooter to stay on the court. Defenses don't really honor that. He's still a good defender, but I think he'd be better served off in a different situation. And with Dallas, they probably still wish they had Seth Curry, honestly. So you kind of get that back a little bit with a shooter who actually has a little bit more size. So I like Terrence Ross to Dallas. And the last one, guys, that I'm going to give y'all, I think is going to be really nice. And I would love to see it. John Collins to the Charlotte Hornets for Miles Bridges in a first-round pick. Maybe another second-round pick or whatever, but I think that'd be enough to get John Collins. John Collins is going to be up for an extension, and I think it really works well for Charlotte because they're going to have Bismack come off the books. They don't have to pay that contract anymore. LaMelo's not due for any type of extension. Terry Rozier is still signed. So they could sign John Collins to that long-term extension. And then once it's time to pay LaMelo, and Gordon Hayward might be off the books as well. They have the ability to do it. So I like that move in that respect, as well as what it would do on the court. I'd love to have PJ Washington and John Collins both on the court at the same time, two versatile big men who are athletic, especially John Collins, who could also shoot threes. John Collins is shooting like 38% from three. On a team with LaMelo, Rozier, and Gordon Hayward, if that's your starting five, I'm all in. I really like that team. They're going to be they won't be winning no title, but that team's going to be a tough out in the postseason. And Charlotte's not worried about giving up first-round picks this season because they're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be a solid team. So I like them going for John Collins, and I like Atlanta getting back Miles Bridges because it's a little bit of a Sacramento situation with Bagley. So Bagley kind of just doesn't fit in Sacramento. And that's pretty much why I have him on the move. Atlanta's the same way. They've had issues with having John Collins on that team. Him and Trae Young really don't vibe that well. So if you can get a first-round pick back along with a talented player like Miles Bridges, who's talented. He also shoots 38% from three, athletic body, not as tall as John Collins, but still has range and room to grow. I like him going to Atlanta and just building up that infrastructure in Atlanta. Atlanta just needs good, versatile players. So I think Miles Bridges fits that mold. But I really, really like this move for Charlotte. You don't have to deal with Cody Zeller, Bismack Biyombo being the primary guys you rely on now. You have a young nucleus with a couple of veteran guys like Rozier and especially Hayward who could help you usher in a new era of Charlotte Hornets basketball, and LaMelo can be that guy who's the driving force of this team getting into the postseason. So I would really like that move for Charlotte. I hope to see it, man. I tried to call a trade this past week on my last pod. Didn't happen, but if any of those four trades were to happen, I would be super happy about the Charlotte one because that would be the one that would make Charlotte, who's already the most exciting team in basketball to watch, probably other than Brooklyn, most definitely the most exciting. Having LaMelo throw lobs to John Collins, y'all, are you serious? Are you serious? Oh, man, I would love it so much, y'all. So those are my trade ideas, and that's actually going to be the end of the pod, y'all. So thank you again for listening to episode 49 of the Good Look Podcast. I'm your host, Leonard Pinckney, a.k.a. Agent P, a.k.a. L. Pinckney. Please like, rate, comment, and subscribe to the pod if you got it on the DSPs. Leave those 5-star reviews, y'all. I really appreciate it. Going to be back with episode 50 next week, y'all. Episode 50. I can't wait to give that to y'all. I hope you guys have a good day, a good night. Whatever time you're listening, have a good one.
It's the Good Look Podcast. It's the Good Look Podcast. It's the Good Look Podcast.